I propose, and would have already started, if your hypothesis is correct, a planned and orderly transfer back to the states and local communities of functions the federal government has usurped and which it has proven it is incapable of operating. And one of the first of those would be welfare. One of the second would be in the field of education. I would like to dissolve the $10 billion National Department of Education created by President Carter and turn schools back to the local school districts where we built the greatest public school system the world has ever seen. I think I can make a case that the decline in the quality of public education began when federal aid became federal interference.
Boom. Good morning, Owasso. This is the Twins with Owasso Live, and this is the Morning Loop. I am back from vacation. It was nice. I went to Puerto Rico. It was lovely. It was a good time, but it's good to be home. Department of Education. I guess Trump is shutting this sucker down. People are saying it's unconstitutional. We have it's a constitutional crisis is the new Democrat, talking points, the new headlines, the new title grabber, the new catching thing that, whips up the base into a panic. But the Department of Education was created by an active president, so it should safely reason to be that it can be destroyed by a president too, or removed, or gotten rid of. And if you have issues with the way things are, again, Chad, you were just talking to me about this. Like, if you have issues with where the money goes as a teacher, like teachers go, the money's going to the wrong place. People are funding the wrong things. Well, whose fault is that?
No.
It's the Department of Education.
Well, that, and I got into a conversation with somebody the other day about that. Just like, if you are a school, like, especially if you're private or like private school, or one of those schools, like an actual like trade school, like a nursing school, or what else? Any type of school that can receive grants, any type of education, you should be able to be self-sufficient without government funds. If you are literally about to close your doors and you're completely sufficient without government funds, you're good. But if you are completely dependent on federal dollars to stay open, you're not running a sustainable business as an educator.
Absolutely.
So that's the issue that I see, is like, if you're solely dependent on the federal dollars, if those federal dollars disappear and you have to close your doors, you're not a good school system, in my opinion.
Yeah. Everyone always talks about we can't run education, we can't run government like a business. It's like, and then I just kind of question why. Why can't you run it like that? Like, we don't have to fund endless money into things that aren't working. It's like, it's not working, but if we throw in, again, the old Milton Friedman, Thomas Sowell thing, if only we had more money, we could solve all the problems if only we had more money.
Well, that's the thing. I wish I'd pulled those graphs, but you can pull up a graph of the education system and like the funding towards it. Since
goes up.
Goes up, but the test scores are going down at the exact, like at a negative rate compared to the funding. So it's clearly not, hey, we need more money problem. It's a, hey, we need to completely rework this.
Yeah, it's a Common Core problem. It's the education system just isn't working. We need to allow good teachers to. Again, Jordan Peterson's a perfect example of what the modern education system could look like. How many people watch Jordan Peterson lectures on YouTube now? Like, what he has to say is so
crap tons
profound that people are like, I'm going to watch this and I'm going to learn how to better understand and read the Bible.
Well, it's just the other thing, too. It's like, you actually have to have a drive to want to be educated. Like, I've learned more from watching, YouTube, videos from like people like Jordan Peterson, or how-to videos from some guy giving a YouTube tutorial than you do from school.
DIY, do it yourself. Again, the reason people are freaking out is because a bunch of teachers are going to be like, I'm going to be out of a job. It's like, again, imagine if instead of, the college system could be destroyed by this too. Imagine if instead of going to college and paying your Harvard college professor, we all just log in as a community and watch Jordan Peterson on YouTube do his lecture. The entire world. Just like, okay, wow, now we're all more educated because of this. This is the way of the future. You could have the entire world. this is why it's so funny to me that all these teachers and all these people wanted to go to during COVID. They wanted to go to at-home learning. Like, what did at-home learning prove? It proved we don't need teachers in classrooms. It basically proved that, oh, we can just have iPads and we can just have pre-recorded lectures playing, and the kids don't even have to interact with the teacher. You put yourself out of jobs. So I really don't know what to tell you folks, but I mean,
For those of you watching right here, here is a graph from 1970 to 2012 showing total cost of spending in public schools and employees, enrollment, reading and reading and science scores. As you can see, total cost skyrocket. Employees skyrocket as well, not nearly as much as the spending. But look at the test reading scores, math scores, and science scores have all stagnated or decreased.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, so, you want to talk about corrupt capitalism? You want to talk about crony capitalism? Like the CEOs, the millionaires, and the Bernie Sanders, the millionaires and billionaires are paying themselves. You know where that money's going? It's lining the pockets of the people who work at those federal buildings. They're either laundering money or it's paying them. They're paying themselves like CEO-level salaries to do this job. It's like, well, I am the head of the education department, so I get, $500,000 a year. My assistants and all the people beneath me get, a couple million. That's where that money's going. It's not going to the teachers. It's not going to the students. It's all that money is going to basically keep that department alive and keep people on pay and salary there. That's it. They create a department so they could basically line their pockets with cash.
Yeah.
That's all this is.
And here's a colorized version of the exact same graph right there.
Mm-hmm.
So the blue, total cost. The orange is employees, reading, math, and science scores stagnate or go down. I mean, what is going on? I mean, how can you go, we need more funding when you're getting ungodly amounts of funding from the 70s to today?
Mm-hmm. So something's wrong, something's not working, and it looks like the problem, at least according to the graphs, is the Department of Education, not the states and not the teachers. So again, there's a million. You remember that time we went to that the Teacher of the Year award thing when we were in college?
Yes. Our aunt was nominated for
Teacher
of the Teacher of the Year in the state, or whatever.
Yes, yeah, for Teacher of the State and Teacher of the Year in the state of Oklahoma, and it was basically a political rally more than it was
Yeah,
the teachers were all there, but then these politicians went up and gave their speeches, and then eventually after the speeches were over, they went up and celebrated the teachers. I mean, I was like, this is a joke. They should not be here. But again, that's what this whole thing is. They brought these people up, and they had the Democrat, the Republican, they had the independent guy who was trying to basically attempt to steal off the Republican ticket. And the only politician I liked was the independent guy, because the Republican guy didn't say anything. He was just it was just empty platitudes. It's going, we're going to make sure you get your money. And then the Democrat was going, educations and the teachers are the most important people.
We're going to take care of you and do that. And then the independent guy was like, they asked him a question. He was like, they're like, how's the money being spent? And he's just like, and he actually knew everything. He was literally he's like, you don't understand how the money is being worked. Like I said, you're not getting less money or
the
funding.
Pie
the pie
got
smaller. The entire pie chart of funding got smaller for the entire state.
You're still getting the same slice of that pie, but since the overall pie got smaller, you're going to be getting less. He goes, and until we can remedy this in the budget situation, you're going to be paid less. And they all booed him.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing. My mom, our mom, who's always been a good Christian conservative person, was like, I really like him.
Yeah, no,
he's the only person up there that's knows what he's talking about. All the rest of them are just pandering.
Oh no, well, mom was like, he's too honest for his own good.
Yeah, exactly.
And the other two, literally, they just gave empty platitudes, which basically appeased the mob. But like I said, the guy that said something that actually had depth, I mean, as a 19-year-old man, I understood exactly what he said and understood exactly what he meant. But again, you're surrounded by a bunch of teachers who are in, the teachers unions and hardcore Democrats. Again, just sitting there. I don't want the harsh truth. I want to be told the comforting lies. Mm-hmm. That's what's so pathetic about our modern society. I would rather listen to the comforting lies than be told the harsh truth. It's like, if a guy, it's like when women, does this outfit make me look fat? Do you want me to tell you the comforting lies? Do you want me to tell you the harsh truth? Women don't want to hear the truth. They want to, no, you look great in that outfit.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you've put on some weight. You need to go to the gym and bust your butt for the next couple of months, and then you might see a little bit of results. Nobody wants to hear that. No one wants to hear it's going to take 2 months of dedicated hard work to fix this problem, and nobody wants to do that. They just want the easy solution. And until we can basically convince the world, or at least America, it's like we're going to have to roll up our sleeves and do some hard work, and it ain't going to be fun, and it's not going to be pretty. But if you're willing to do the work, you will get the results, but it's going to take time.
Yep. But that's why I have this article pulled up from The Guardian, but I'll show you this first. I Googled it first, and if you want to see how the media is portraying this first, I mean, here's NPR. How the education department cuts could hurt low-income rural schools. You know, like, that is a headline that is already biased. Like, the news is not supposed to be biased. Like, it's supposed to be like, say the facts. Hey, it's supposed to be title, President Trump to cut Department of Education funding or whatever. That should be all it says. And then you read an article about it that's completely neutral. The titles are even completely biased. 4 things you need to know about Trump dismantle the Department of Education from CNN. First thing, Trump signs the order to dismantle the Department of Education from The Guardian, which that's the one that I have pulled up. So I'll go ahead and read this one. And, yeah. See here, Trump signs executive order to dismantle the U.S. Department of Education. The order calls for the teardown of the department as Trump seemingly tries to circumvent need to obtain congressional approval. Donald Trump signed an executive order on Thursday that instructs the U.S. Education Secretary Linda McMahon, to dismantling the Department of Education, seemingly in an attempt to circumvent the need to obtain congressional approval to approve formal close of the federal department. The administration may pursue an effort to get Congress to shut down the agency. Trump said that a signing ceremony at the White House on Thursday because its budget had more than doubled in size in recent years, but national test scores have not improved. Which, as we showed from that what's it called? I literally just got rid of it. The test scores. So let's see, test scores versus education
Funding.
Whoop. Ooh. Images. There we go, right there. Look at that. Pull this one up. Where'd it go? They had a colorized one. I'll just go back to the non-colorized one. There we go. But right there, as you can see, it's crazy. Crazy.
It's not a money problem. It's not a money problem. The problem is the money's not getting where it needs to go. And it's lining the pockets of the people who are in charge of these departments. So, like I said, what's the matter with getting rid of this stuff? What's the matter with cutting government bloat, government rot, government overspending? Let innovators come in and figure out a better way to do it.
Yep. And let's see here. Federal government does not mandate curriculum in schools. That has been the responsibility of the state and local governments, which provides 90% of the funding to the schools. Nevertheless, at the White House, Trump repeated his campaign promise to send education back to the states. The executive order, which that is not completely true. Like, you have to go if you don't follow like a federal curriculum, like that's the big thing is like any time that a state is like doing something, like when the Common Core was going around, any state that was not wanting to be like a part of Common Core,
lost funding.
They were promising to revoke federal funding.
Yeah.
So you can't say that the states are completely in control of their curriculum.
Yep.
So that is 100% not true.
Yep. You know, it reminds me of that. You remember that scene from the movie Year One? It's kind of like a blasphemous movie with Jack Black and
I do.
Michael Cera. It's like that scene where, like, what's his name? I can't think of the guy. The actor is hilarious. He played Porthos in the what's it called? What's that movie called? The Three Musketeers.
Yeah,
with
hang on, I'll find out.
But yeah, it's that actor, and he's like the high priest or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's talking to Michael Cera, who's a little slave boy, and he's like going, "You, slave boy, rub oil on me." And he goes, "Oh no, thank you." And he goes, "Rub oil on me or die." That's basically what the Department of Education's doing when they threaten you. It's like, again, it's like
Oliver Platt.
Oliver
is his
Platt.
name.
Yeah. Oliver Platt.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, he was the funniest character.
Yeah. But yeah, so again, that's what this is. It's like the federal government is Oliver Platt in that movie. You know, it's like in the states and the state's education systems are the poor little slave boy that's Michael Cera. It's like, you rub oil on me. We're like, no, we don't want to do that. That's not something we're interested in doing. Rub oil on me or die. That's the whole point. That is what this is. It is the stupidest thing.
Yeah.
Let the states do what they want. And like I said, if let's say Oklahoma's education system just falls off, how many parents are going to be like, we got to move out of this state? We got to go somewhere where education's actually good.
Well, Oklahoma is one of the few states that actually has a education constitution that protects parents that want to homeschool their children.
There you go.
So that's why a lot of people move here. That's why our buddy, I won't say names, but that's why he moved here.
Yeah. So it's a good thing, man. Like the more options you have available, like who to thunk it? The more freedoms you give people to do with their kids and their education, what they want to do, the better results you're going to get. Mm-hmm. So, like I said, if a family wants to homeschool, and again, people think of homeschooling as this thing where it's just like a mom who sits inside of a room and teaches her kids all day. No, there are homeschooling pods, and by pods I mean there are groups of people. Like there's a mom who teaches first grade. So they'll drop their kids off at this one mom's house who teaches first grade
math,
stuff.
or they'll teach a subject.
Or math, yeah. It'll be like they move around. It's not just like yes, there are the ones whose mom teaches everything, like they do. But then you have these kids that do internships and they learn how to do trades and stuff while they're in school instead of just sitting in class all day waiting to be bored. And then the only reprieve they get is recess for 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's literally prison. It's like here. You get your outside time. You get your 30 minutes to an hour of outside time.
I remember watching some documentary about how they said the school food is actually worse than prison food.
Yeah, it is. It's worse for you. It's not as healthy.
Yeah.
Remember, that's what everyone joked about. It was like when Michelle Obama took over the school lunch programs. Mm-hmm. The food got progressively worse for you.
Yeah. Again. So if you think the Department of Education has you and your child's best interests at heart, you're crazy. You're kidding yourself. These people are just trying to line their own pockets, and it's just like the teachers union. The teachers unions don't actually give a darn about any of the teachers. They are subsidizing, or basically they are affirmative action for evil teachers. The teachers who, again, do horrible things to your daughters and horrible things to your sons. They like that one guy that we had here in our book of business or whatever. It's like going, hey, dude, you've only been here for a month. What happened? It's like. And then you start doing some research on the guy and going, he had a couple of allegations in California about.
No, yeah, like I said, it turns out, he was accused of impropriety. Like I said, accused, allegedly of impropriety with a female student here in.
No, back in California.
Yeah, no, but that's the thing. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So you go back and you said, there's a pattern of this repeating somewhere. So obviously there is some truth behind this, unless he just happens to be, which is always possible. He's the one unlucky guy that's just so good looking.
He is the Brad Pitt of teachers. Yeah, exactly. Every girl just goes, I want to be with him. He's just the hottest teacher ever. It's like, no, it's probably him wooing these young girls. And I mean, again, I'm not saying the guy's guilty, but sometimes you have to call a spade, Yeah. Like the pattern doesn't change even when you change schools. Something's wrong, and you're probably the problem if that's the case.
Yeah.
And the unions don't care what he does. They just go, we got to find him another job of equal pay somewhere else. Yeah. Same as that kid that was the kid that was here teaching. What was his name? The pro-trans teacher at the 8th grade center. He didn't get fired. He's still a teacher. He works in Tulsa now.
Yeah. The teachers' unions protect their teachers. They don't. All they do is they sweep it under the rug, send them to the next school. That's what teachers' unions do. Teachers' unions are designed to protect teachers. Everyone's always like, teachers' unions want to help students. No. If that was the case, they wouldn't be protecting predators and sending them to another school when they get accused of something at the current school that they're at.
Yeah, and I guess, we don't really have much else to kind of talk about here today, but I guess I'll just say this. To those people who are trying to continue to uphold the education department, you are the people who would side with the British. You have to look for, we have to find better ways of doing things. And if your only answer is keep funding it, find more, give it more money, you're just going to bankrupt yourself and the rest of us.
Yeah.
Period.
Look, this graph does not lie. This graph does not lie. The total cost has gone up. Skyrocketed. And employees have gone up and skyrocketed. And then we have this right here, which this is what we always talk about. It's Administrators. It's the same thing with the medical industry. Like doctors don't want to deal with paperwork, so they hire administrators, and administrators pay themselves more. They hire more administrators and they pay themselves more. There's a reason why you hate dealing with administrators. Like there has to be an administrator or a department head in education for every field. I mean, think of like in college, all the freaking, there has to be a DEI department head. You know what I mean? And then they hire a bunch
And
of
they have to
subordinates.
have a certain amount of salary because
Yeah,
they're considered a department head.
And they have to have, yeah, exactly. They have a salary that they have to be paid, a mandatory salary. So you hire more positions that don't really do anything, and you have to pay them ungodly amounts of money. And then they go around trying to justify their job by giving all the students and frat boys, it talks about how you are privileged.
No, or even worse, like in the case of TU, remember, like you had to, like during the Obama administration, we had to do those mandatory sexual assault seminars where it's like going, hey, young boy, hey, teenage boys, you're all rapists, so we need to make sure that you do this sexual assault survey or you can't sign up for classes next semester. So do this mandatory sexual assault training so you can sign up for classes. If you don't, you're not allowed to sign up for classes next semester. Now, imagine it's worse. It's probably like you have to do this mandatory DEI thing before, on top of the sexual assault thing, before you can sign up for next semester.
Yep.
They just keep throwing out more things. And then the departments cheer and clap and go, wow, this is great. What an innovative tool this is. It's like, no, man, this is stupid. I'm not, like, you don't have to make the blanket assumption that all men are rapists in order for me to have to go through this mandatory training to sign up for schools. Like, just let me sign up for classes. I'm paying you, not the other way around. Like, I'm paying you, and you're forcing me to do this dumb DEI and sexual assault training. Like, this is dumb. It's stupid.
Yep. Well, I'll get back to the article here. The executive order targeting the education department, which has been expected for weeks, directed by McMahon to take all necessary steps to shut down key functionalities. Trump added at the signing ceremony that he hoped McMahon would be the last education secretary. My administration will take lawful steps to shut down the department. We're going to shut it down and shut it down as quickly as possible. It's doing us no good, said Trump. McMahon appeared to smile in the acknowledgement as she sat in the front row at the signing of the event in the East Room. Trump spoke out on stage in front of a row of state flags and flanked on each side by groups of school children sitting at a small desk. The bulk of the education department budget is made up of federal grant and loan programs, including an $18 billion entitlement program that provides funding to high poverty K through 12 schools, and 15 billion idea program that helps cover the education costs for students with disabilities. Which that's what they do. Look at that. They're like, look, they're going to take away from the needy children.
Yeah.
They said, think about the children. That's
Yeah.
the only thing I can think is the Simpson meme. Someone think about the children.
Again, take it back to Thomas Sowell and Milton Friedman. Never has there been a more permanent position than a temporary government agency. I mean, every temporary government agency has become a permanent one. And now Trump's like going, I mean, how cool is it that we have agencies that they create? This agency is temporary. It's literally just here for a minute, and then it's going to go away after they saw, like, Doge. Doge is not going to exist throughout this entire administration. Doge should hopefully be gone within next year. Unless, but as big and bloated as the government is, Doge might need to exist all 4 years of Trump's candidacy in order to overcorrect the bloat problem we have in the government spending.
Yeah. Well, here's the other portion of it, too. The White House said that those programs, as well as the $1.6 trillion federal student loan program, would not be affected by the order. It was not immediately clear what spending cuts the administrations would be able to achieve without cutting those initiatives. The move comes from the administration has already taken steps to undercut the department's authority by instituting a round of layoffs that have reduced its workforce by nearly half and canceled dozens of grants and contracts. The idea of shutting down the education department dates back to efforts by Republicans in the 1980s. That the push has come increasingly mainstream in recent years. Pro-grassroots activists took aim at agendas promoting education standards and more recent and more inclusive policies. Congressman Thomas Massey, a Republican from Kentucky, separately introduced one sentence bill in January that would terminate the education department at the end of 2026. Similar efforts have failed to get votes to pass in previous years. Yeah, because they they turn around and go, think of the children. You're trying to just take away like our children's education.
No, here's a perfect example. Here's a perfect thing I just thought of. If the people who are getting fired from the Department of Education, if their jobs were so necessary, if their jobs were so vital to children's education, they could create their own organization called the Department of Education, but it's a private organization, and then they could solve all the educational problems like that overnight if they were actually useful, if they actually had a solution to the problem. But guess what? They don't. And they won't. Because the only thing that props up the Department of Education is your tax dollars. It's not organic. It's not some great. They didn't have this great idea. They go, we're just going to get these people together and they're just going to implement ideas and curriculum. And what did it end up doing? Ended up destroying the education.
Yeah, and that's also another thing.
Maybe not destroying it, but stagnating and nothing changed.
That's another thing that I just thought of just now was like, that's another question that I never really ever get a full answer from anybody that that's trying to protect like teachers unions and the Department of Education. It's like, why are they always so against like private schools and other, those voucher programs? Why would they be against that? Like, if they're better, if the public schools are supposedly better, why are they trying to stop those things? Which means that they feel threatened by them.
Yeah.
Why would you try to stop something that's trying to educate people for lower costs or whatever?
Yeah. Why would you
get
want
better education for?
Why would you prevent kids from going to a more competitive school, to a school where they have more opportunity? This is not about opportunity. I mean, it's how dare you want to move your kid to a different area? I mean, it's like, don't make kids and parents slaves to the district. Like, whatever district you're in. Like, if let's say Owasso schools just started tanking, what's keeping parents from being like, well, we'll take them to Collinsville. We'll take them to Sperry. We'll take them to Skytube. They can go wherever. Mm-hmm. What's wrong with that? Seriously, like, what's the deal? Why do we have to? Why are our kids enslaved to what zip code they live in?
Yeah, it's true.
Why can't if let's say some kid wants to go to some school in Oklahoma City, what's to keep a mom and dad from driving the hour-and-a-half drive to Oklahoma City to take their kid to school?
Yep.
Like, we'll wake up at 4. We'll get you there on time.
Yep, it's true, but that's the thing. It's people who don't care. Like, if you don't care about your kid's education, you clearly don't care about your kid. Mm-hmm. It's like, you should be the person. I mean, that's everyone's like, it's up to the kid to like want to. It's like, no, the parents enforce the discipline at the school. If mom and dad didn't come by and check my homework every day, I probably would have just been that kid that goes in my room, plays video games right after school.
Yeah. I mean, mom and dad set the tone. Like, mom and dad are like, you don't get to play games until your homework is done. Period. And if you cheated around that rule, guess what? You didn't get to. You got grounded. You didn't get to do anything. I mean, again, you are responsible for your kid's education. You know what I mean? And not the government. It's like I think John Lovell. I was watching John Lovell. I sent a thing from John Lovell the other day, and he was on the Sean Ryan show, and they were like going, "What?" I can't remember what exactly he said, but it was something along the lines of like, why do you homeschool your kids? And he said something along the lines of, well, I can't remember who said it, but a famous philosopher was like going, don't be surprised when you send your kids to Rome and they come back as you as Roman citizens. Mm-hmm. It's like, the state has your kids for 6 hours out of the day.
Why do you think the big funny like meme that conservatives always post is like, you send your kid to college as a good, straight-laced Christian kid, and they come back a, shaved head feminist,
or socialist or something,
screaming protester, just like, what happened? I thought I sent you to school to get an education. It's like, no, I sent you there to be indoctrinated is what you've done.
Yeah. This is why you have to have I was reading, while I was on the planes and stuff for the last 6 hours, I was reading a lot, and, the parable Jesus told about the mustard seeds, some of the mustard seeds got on the road and their roots didn't go deep, That's what if you send your kids off to college and they don't have a firm rooted education and a good moral foundation, a Christian moral foundation, they're the mustard seeds on the road. They'll sprout quickly and they'll be pretty and you'll be excited, but their roots don't go deep. So whenever the sun comes out, they burn and they don't grow. They don't have water. They sprout quickly and then they die quickly. And that's what's happening. They don't have any rooted faith. You have to make sure your kids are armed with a good moral foundation.
Well, let me try to skim through the rest of this real quick. The Trump administration efforts to shutter the Department of Education largely follows the playbook of Project 2025, the Heritage Foundation right-wing manifesto to remake the federal government, which envisions the department as a statistics gathering agency that dismantles information to the states. That's quite the claim. Democrats on Capitol Hill denounced the executive order and warned that it would leave in jeopardy millions of low-income families who rely on federal funding in schools. Again, why is a school completely dependent on federal funding? There should not be a school that's like, if we lose our federal dollars, we have to close our doors. Like, you are not you do not have a well-balanced budget if you are completely dependent on the state's dollar, or not the state's, the federal dollars to keep your school opened. Shutting down the Department of Education will harm millions of children in our nation's public schools, their families, and hardworking teachers. Class sizes will soar. Educators will be fired. Special education programs will be cut and will be more expensive, Hakeem Jeffries, U.S. House Minority Leader, said in a statement. Okay, again, that's a lie. Look here. Employees have gone up. Total cost has gone up. Education is stagnated. So that's a lie right there. Progressive wing of the House Democratic Caucus also denounced Trump's order as unconstitutional, an attempt to evade seeking congressional approval to implement his political agenda. Okay, the executive order, enforces the law. Like, Trump can enforce what departments can and can't do. Like, he's not completely getting rid of it. He's basically rolling back its authority, which is under his purview.
Yeah.
The reality is that the Trump administration does not have the constitutional power to eliminate the Department of Education without approval from Congress, but he can roll it back. However, they do is defund and destabilize the agency to manufacture chaos to put their extremist agenda and
agenda,
said the Democratic Congressman Maxwell Frost. But without cutting the department itself, the incoming Trump administration, buoyed by right-wing backlash in public schools, intensified that the COVID-19 pandemic could alter key parts of the department's budget and policies in ways that could be felt in schools nationwide. Some Republicans support the idea of block grants to states and aren't earmarked for specific programs, letting the states decide whether to fund low-income students or students with disabilities instead of requiring them to fund the programs for those students. Programs that don't affect students directly, such as those who go towards teacher training, could also be on the chopping block. Expanding the use of promotions of key vouchers and installing parents' rights and policies are also likely. Good. Parents need to be more involved in the education decision process. The fact that there's just a group of people that can decide that, those trans, adult books basically can go into schools is ridiculous. Parents need to have a decision in that too.
Yeah. I mean, but this is what happens whenever I don't know how, but the Democrats basically convinced an entire generation of people that school isn't really school, it's just daycare. Just drop your kids off so you guys can go to work and do your thing, and we'll take care of them from here. And again, don't be surprised when you send your kids to Rome and they come back as Roman citizens. You wonder why your kids are being you wonder why left-wing politics was so dominant whenever we were in college. We wondered why Barack Obama and all these people attained power. It's because of left-wing dogmatic politics. I mean, they had control of the culture. They had control over the media. They had control over everything.
Yeah, they sure did. In late January, Trump signed the executive orders to promote school choice or the use of public dollars for private education. And to remove funding from schools accused of racial indoctrination, Trump also revived a 1776 commission to promote patriotic education. Heck yeah. The Education Department boasted that in the first weeks of Trump's administration had dismantled diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. Soon after Trump took over, the department was loaded with key staffers tied to right-wing think tanks. The American First Policy Institute, often referred to as the White House in waiting. The think tank has supported driving out diversity programs and banning books. I said they don't tell you what books they want to ban because they will lose if they showed you the images. Like I've showed, I can't tell you how many times we pulled up those things where the parents are reading and showing pictures from the books
and then getting
that they're trying
kicked
to
out of school board meetings and escorted
For
out by police officers.
for inappropriate. You're not allowed to read that type
Stop
of pornography.
reading porn in this meeting. It's like, well, this is in the library at the public school. This is available to my kid who's 6 years old.
Yeah, the kid they have ones where the little boy checked out the book and started reading it.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, that little kid was sitting there reading the books. You know, it's like he jammed his thing inside my mouth, and it hurt. And it's just like, holy cow! Like, this is okay for kids to read?
Mm-hmm. Anyway, let's see, where was I? Little students, yeah. Policy Institute promoted installing Christianity, including into schools. Against hate dreamers. Yeah. The department ended investigations into book banning and got rid of the book ban coordinator position last month in a move announced by Craig Traynor, the acting secretary for civil rights, who previously held the role at the think tank. This article was amended on 20 March 2025. An earlier version incorrectly stated Congressman Massey introduced a separate bill once. Okay, so they made this. And right here, they start talking about how they vow to, fight for freedom and independence with the Trump attacking, journalism and journal.
Oh, no, my journalists.
Mm-hmm. But that's really about it for that. But again, if you want to come back to the numbers right here, look at that. That's the problem that we're facing right now. Total cost keeps going up. Employment goes up. Test scores have stagnated. So clearly, throwing money at the Titanic doesn't stop it from sinking.
Yeah, I agree, man. And this is what happens when you convince generations of kids that they have to go to college instead of going to trade schools. I mean, not every little boy is cut out for college. Same goes for every little girl. But we're convincing people that they have to go do this thing. Go get under a mountain of debt. Go to college. It's like, again, can college be beneficial? Yes, if you know what you're going to do. It's like, oh, college is where you go to just figure things out, man. You really want to rack up a mountain of debt just so you can figure things out? I mean, go travel abroad. You'll save money.
Yeah. I said it'd be honestly better to send your kid to the military, have the military pay for their college.
Yeah, and be like, they can go there for the military for 4 years and be like, this sucks. I never want to do this again. I'm going to use the GI Bill to pay for my college.
So there's that. Send them to a trade school where at least they're not spending like hundreds of thousands of dollars on an education system where they can make their own money at least.
Yeah, I when I was in Puerto Rico, I talked to a kid who was Puerto Rican. Interesting mix. Puerto Rican and Ukrainian. Doesn't like what's going on in the war in Ukraine. Loves America, but he went to a trade school, spent $14,000 to go to trade school. He's going to make $90,000 a year when he gets hired by a what do we call it? They're a power line company. Mm-hmm. He's going to make $90,000 starting salary, went to school for a year, and spent $14,000 to do it. It's going to make $90K every a year.
Yep.
And that's his beginning salary. Yep. Like, that's like a dream job.
Yep. And this next one that I have here is just the memes, so we'll get to the memes now. No, you can't dismantle the Department of Education. What about the children? And then, of course, the Chad MAGA guy is like, that's who we're doing it for. I love it. I love it. Next one I have pulled up here is not a single student can read at grade level in 30 Illinois public schools. So, again, they're like, this will really impact low-income, urban families. Oh, got some schmutz like that. And yeah, so look, not any of these are proficient in reading. And, that's the thing I always love, because being in Oklahoma, they always point out, look, we have the lowest, education thing. Just like, yeah, but why is it that New York and California, who have some of the highest, amounts of
education,
have the most I mean, by their numbers, they have more, per capita of people, but they have worse education.
Yeah, well, I mean, but the other thing too is their numbers are artificially propped up by the private schools and the millionaires and billionaires kids because there are more wealthy people out there in California because the population is just higher in general. So those higher private school test scores is what keeps them above the level. It's not the public education.
Mm-hmm. But then the last thing that I kind of have here is teachers in Colorado are protesting cuts while students are at home learning nothing, and the state is going bankrupt. And yeah, just like, I hate to tell you this, but teachers are basically protesters because every time something happens where they're like, teachers like are going to go protest to get more pay, they will do it. Like there are so many teachers that just
they're
leave.
all government workers too. So I mean, like they can go and protest and still make their regular paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's like, I didn't show up to school today. Well, I'm still getting paid, so who cares?
Yeah. But that's the thing. Like teachers are basically left-wing protesters.
Yeah.
That's what all they are. Is like you wonder why your kids are being radicalized because these teachers here will take off of school and work and go run down to the state capitol to protest.
And they'll encourage their students to come with them instead of teaching their kids and doing like if they actually cared about their job and their profession, they'd stay at school and keep teaching. Like they could implement some type of thing where it's like teachers get paid or can be tipped. Imagine if there's like a tipping process like this teacher at this school is so good. I want my kid in that class. I will pay more to this school and to this teacher in order to have my kid in this teacher's class. Mm-hmm. But guess what? The status quo will not allow that. Like there'll be those teachers who go, "No, I want my peers to make it." No, it's like really. It's like tipping a teacher could be like tipping a waitress. It's like this waitress gave me exceptional service. She's getting $100 tip. Imagine you go to school every day and like. The kids come home and they go, this teacher's so awesome, Mom and Dad. I learned so much. I can do complex math problems now because of the teacher. It's like, boom, that's worth $100 tip right there. Except that $100 tip comes from every single one of the your students' parents. You have 25 kids, $100 from each of them. Holy cow, you're making a lot of money. Yep. Even if it's just $5 from each of them, it'd still be a good chunk of change.
Yep.
Tax-free, too. Implement a tipping service for teachers. But then teachers be like, that's beneath me. It's like, why? You're doing a good job. You should be rewarded for it. There are ways to do this without using tax dollars. Allow us to keep our tax dollars, and then we can basically give away more of our money to causes we see fit. So again, it's just the problem comes from the people who go, no, this is the way it is. This is the way it's always going to be. Why? What are you so afraid of? Why are you afraid to try something different?
Because their teachers union bosses told them to.
Yeah. I mean, if you're too afraid to try something different, we might as well just still be in caves instead of playing video games. We'll just be playing with a stick and a rock, and we had to share the rock.
Yep.
Yep.
That's pretty much all I've got, man.
Yeah, that's all I've got too. We went way longer than I thought we would on this.
We're gonna end the video with Margaret Thatcher talking about taking back education.
This is Margaret Thatcher from like 20 or 30 years ago, for God's sakes. Like she's talking exactly about the same stuff we're talking about today, except she was there when her and Reagan were in office at the same time, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
This is crazy. This is prophetic. When I showed Chad this, and he was like, "Wow, this is nuts." So. That's how we're going to end the show out with our good old Margaret Thatcher giving her spiel. And like I said, it's eerie. I mean, it's crazy what you're about to listen to. It's like she's talking. It's like she's giving a speech today that Donald Trump would be giving.
Yeah, it's like the freaking problems never change. Like it's the exact same thing they were talking about. Like Milton Friedman and Thomas Sowell having debates with college students about the same crap that Ben Shapiro and all your other favorite commentators are debating college kids about today.
The debate topic never changes. It's just it's a repackaged turd.
It is. It's like the problem is like the conservatives like Thomas Sowell and Milton Friedman won those debates. But guess what happened? Those people stayed. The socialists stayed in the education system.
They got the
whereas
tenureship.
Thomas Sowell and Milton Friedman went off and were writing their books and doing stuff, and like they're still there educating and indoctrinating kids. whereas Thomas Sowell and Milton Friedman kind of faded into obscurity.
Not even obscurity. They got the private equity deals or whatever. They got the private deals because they stayed in the private sector versus the people that they defeated in these debates. And, the people who watch from the other perspective go, they didn't defeat them, the socialist one. How stupid are you? It's like, that's the problem. We're just talking at each other instead of past each other. But again, debates aren't for the people whose minds are made up. It's for the people in the middle who might be swayed. So, again, that's about all I've got for you today. This is the Twins with the Owasso Live. This was the Morning Loop. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you too can stay in the loop. But that is all we've got for you today. God bless you.
See you later, everybody.
But it's the plight of individual boys and girls which worries me most. Too often, our children don't get the education they need, the education they deserve. And in the inner cities, where youngsters must have a decent education if they are to have a better future, that opportunity is all too often snatched from them by hard-left education authorities and extremist teachers. And children who need to be able to count and multiply are learning anti-racist mathematics, whatever that may be. Children who need to be able to express themselves in clear English are being taught political slogans. Children who need to be taught to respect traditional moral values are being taught that they have an inalienable right to be gay.